watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning and welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Idris Matusegawa. Now, the final journey has started for Uganda's oil sector, and today we want to speak to some of the key players. On Zoom, we have Mr. Tony Otoa, the CEO of the Stanbic Business Incubator, who has dedicated himself to preparing Ugandans, especially businesses, to supply the sector. We also have Solomon Muyita, the spokesperson, Ministry of Energy and Development, to speak to us today in studio. Mr. Solomon, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Mr. Tony, good morning. Are you there? Good
yes,
morning,
good morning.
Sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Fabulous. Now, I'll start with you, Solomon. Today is a monumental day for the economy of Uganda and for the citizens of Uganda at large. How have we reached here?
Well, it's been a journey over the past 15 plus years.
Yes.
Uganda discovered oil in 2006. So over the years, so much, as a country, we have to build institutional capacity. We have to put in place regulation. We have to do exploration, licensing. And here we are. Now we have the international oil companies, reputable. They've been in this trade for quite some time. They know the ins and out. So the major commercial licenses were done in April, and some of the projects are in motion. In Tilenga, where Total is managing, we expect about 17 barrels per day, and then Kingfisher, run by Sinok, where we expect 40. Tilenga is 19,000 barrels per day. Tilenga is 40,000. In total, we shall have 230,000 barrels. So today is when these companies come and declare how much they're investing in Uganda. They've been here, now they know that this is viable. Uganda is viable. The business is going to be profitable to them, and they have to declare this is how much we are sinking in.
No turning back.
No turning back. The decisions have been taken at the highest level in these companies, and they are ready to be here and make money from Uganda.
Are we making money too?
We are going to make money because our company is in the mix. Uganda National Oil Company is in there holding the shares for the country and also trading with them. Perfect. So also you're going to hear the announcement of the FID for the pipeline project. We have a pipeline running from Hoima to Tanga in Tanzania, which is going to evacuate the oil that we cannot utilize as a country. Because out of the 230,000 barrels, as a country and a few of our neighbors, we can only consume 60,000, and that is what will be running through our refinery. There is a refinery coming up in Hoima, Kabale, and after taking off our 60,000 barrels every day, the 170,000 barrels will be evacuated to the international market, and the pipeline is going to commence. Declaration of the FID for the pipeline will be today, and then the major contracts are going to be awarded to and construction will commence. So it's going to be a lot of activity going forward, starting, let me say, tomorrow. Today we have His Excellency, the President of Uganda, and Our Excellency, the President of Tanzania. We also have the Tanzanian, all these oil companies are going to be with us at Kololo ceremonial grounds. We have TPDC from Tanzania, UNOC from Uganda, Total, and Sinok. Total is a French company, Sinok is Chinese. So it's a big day at Kololo as we get the biggest announcement. This sector, we expect an investment to a tune of about 15 billion US dollars.
Wow.
Coming into Uganda. So Ugandan companies are also, our Petroleum Authority of Uganda has registered so many companies, Ugandan local companies under the local content arrangement, they should be able to supply material. They should be able to get some contracts. The things that can be done by Ugandan companies are going to be left to the Ugandans. And the skilled Ugandans can also take up the job. So under the local content arrangement, we are saying work that can be performed by a Ugandan should be given to a Ugandan. And the skills we don't have, we can import, but also we are going to get our people to understudy the experts, the international experts, so that after 2-3 years, when our people master the trade, then they take over. So for every position that cannot be performed by a Ugandan, there should be a Ugandan working alongside the expert to learn the skills and take over. So in the next so many years, oil and gas in Uganda should be fully under Ugandans, and it's a very big opportunity to this country. We are quite happy.
Well, the future looks bright and brilliant. I'll come to you, Tony. Tony?
Yes.
Yes, kindly tell the viewers what you do as the Stanbic Incubator, at the Stanbic Incubator, and also just explain to us a little bit of what this means for Ugandan businesses.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here, first of all, speaking about this today. You know, we have been waiting for this day for years. And for many Ugandans, this has been something that has been, eluding us. We start and then we have a stop. We start and then we have a stop. So for now, we can gladly say the day has finally come. It is kind of like, one of those biggest moments in the history of this country when it comes to the oil and gas exploration. But I'll begin with your questions, my brother. And first and foremost, I just wanted to speak more about the business incubator. You see, when we set up in 2018, we were asking ourselves one question: how do we prepare Ugandans for this great opportunity? We knew at that time the sector was very slow, nothing was happening, everything was, going on the way it was. But we also knew that it was going to be a great opportunity in the next few years. Now think about it. 4 years ago, this was something that if anyone asked us why we were investing in it, it seemed a little bit crazy. But today, we now see that early preparation has been able to make this happen. So what we do is we strive or thrive around supporting businesses to become credible, compliant, and able to access these opportunities. You know, it's very interesting when you think about Ugandans as entrepreneurs. We're one of the most entrepreneurial countries in the world. Recently, we were pretty much the most entrepreneurial country in the world. But every single year, businesses die, SMEs die. And our why we exist is really to say we exist because we want to support these businesses to thrive, to be evidently available to participate in whatever opportunities are available. FID is here. And what this means for the businesses, for Ugandans, is a lot. You know, I keep saying the time for PowerPoints or the time for PowerPoint presentations is over. The time for conferences is over. The time for action is now. And why do I say this? For a long time, we have been speaking about the opportunities in the oil and gas sector. We have been talking about manpower. My brother has just mentioned how we are going to skill Ugandans, how we are going to make Ugandan businesses ready. But we have been talking about these things, and the level or the sluggishness has been because the situation in the sector has been slow as well. But what's going to happen today is, in lack of a better word, dog eat dog world. If you're not ready, you need to start tightening those straps on your boots and get ready as soon as possible. So it's a great day, a very symbolic day, not just for Uganda, by the way, but for the region or Africa as a whole, but also a very symbolic day in the economy of this country. Because what's going to happen today is going to ignite colossal sums of money or push through colossal sums of money into this economy. And that is going to be a very interesting situation for this country that has not seen such amounts of money all of a sudden coming into the economy, but also a great opportunity for a lot of businesses to be able to engage, to strategize, and synergize and make the best out of this opportunity. We need to push for the story or the conversations on local content. Local content is going to be #1 priority. And if we can push this as much as possible, I think this is going to be a great story. Thank you, my brother.
Oh, wow. Tony, do you think that Ugandans are ready for this opportunity?
The inconvenient truth? No. And the inconvenient truth as well? Yes. So yes and no. And why do I say yes and no? You know, we've been talking about this, and you can see the level of Ugandans who managed to go onto the National Supplier Database, which is a database for any company or supplier who's going to do or perform a good or service. So if you went to the Petroleum Authority website, you will see that very many companies have decided to take the initiative to do something about it, registering on the NSD. Some of them have become compliant. Through the incubator, we have trained at least 1,000 businesses in the area of oil and gas. And what we believe is that we can fine-tune them, we can activate them, we can support them with their compliance levels. If this is sorted, then they're ready. The reason I say no is on the manpower front of things. You all know we have been through a lockdown. Most institutions of learning have been closed for pretty much 2 years. Now, just to make this or put this into perspective, we will need 60% of the manpower being technicians and craftsmen. These are your plumbers, your welders, your fitters, your craftsmen, the guys who go to the technical institutions. We have hardly churned out any or many in the last 2 years. This means that we have a deficiency in terms of manpower needed. And if we are starting today, that means that we have to accelerate our manpower development programs. We have to accelerate our training programs and churn out as many Ugandans as possible so that they can experience or participate in the sector. So that idea of creating manpower that is ready is not yet sorted. So we need to now really run as fast as we can. But I think at the Business Incubator, what we have decided to do for the next 1 year is to go into a crazy accelerator program where we connect the businesses, not just with the market in terms of the contractors, tier 1 or tier 2, but also fine-tune these businesses to think big, to think regional, to enterprise or to move their enterprises into spaces that had never been, gotten into. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us and for Ugandans as well. So yes, we are prepared. Somehow we're not. But at the end of the day, we can't keep asking ourselves whether we're prepared or not. It is time for action right now.
Well, thank you, Tony, for those remarks. I'll come to you, Simon. From what he says, it's like we are prepared and not prepared. But it's been 15 years. What do you have to say about that? Are we prepared?
Well, you realize that oil and gas is very new, not just to Uganda, but to the region. East Africa is something new. So we have so much to learn from the experts, from the people who have been at it for some time.
Yes.
You can't just wake up and you assume you know so much when you've not even engaged in this trade, I know that for many years, some people even started imagining that maybe oil is coming out and maybe some people are using the oil. But when you get to the ground, you realize that it's a process. There's so much involved. Exploration alone is quite a process, and we are still exploring. There are some areas licensed already, but exploration continues. And it's a rigorous process. It needs a lot of skilling, a lot of expertise. But the opportunity, the experts have been here, and they've not been selfish. They've been able to work with the Ugandans. Even the licensed companies have taken on so many Ugandans, and they are working not only with the individuals, but also with the companies. So a lot of learning has been taking place over the years, and I believe learning can only continue. These companies are not here for 1 year, they are here for some years, but along the way, Ugandans will pick up and start to flow with the processes, and I think we'll get there.
Today, the final investment decision is being signed. And as you mentioned, some of the Ugandans believe that people have been consuming oil in one way or the other. What exactly is going to happen starting today and for the next probably 1 to 3 years?
3 things are going to happen. You're going to have procurements, a lot of engineering and construction for the next 3 years. A lot of construction, you know, you've heard of a pipeline. Many project affected persons are going to start receiving the money because many of them knew the pipe goes through my land. They've been waiting for the money. So it's the time to start receiving the money, and you plan. You could also use some of it to invest in the same sector, or you could do something that you think you understand better. That is one area. There is going to be so many people engaged. I heard Total recently has been announcing they wanted to recruit at least 1,000 youths. There's been a campaign. All these will be jobs to the Ugandans. There is a lot of skilling in a number of institutions like the Chigumba Petroleum Institute, you know, and a few others. All these are going to be, and these people are being skilled but also getting international certification. It doesn't mean that when you get the qualification, you only work in Uganda. You can actually get employed in another country that has the same trade. But you could start here. And
shouldn't that be a mandatory thing that you have to work here for at least 10 years? If you got in the training from
it's a good thing to work here, but if our people are able to even earn more, if they have bigger opportunities elsewhere, Nigeria, in the Arab world, we cannot tell them that don't. But, you know, we leave the choices open. You could work in Uganda, you could go overseas. Still, the more skills you're going to get overseas, you can still come back because we have it here. This oil, you know, business is going to expand in Uganda. Recent exploration activities indicate that we have oil in Karamoja region, and it could be more than what we have in the Albertine. So it's business which is going to be here for many years to come. You know, there are new areas that are being licensed also. So as we get the oil, you know, the 2025 oil out of the ground, there is more that is coming, and there is going to be a lot of money. Our president has said the resources from the oil and gas are going to be dedicated towards infrastructure development. Already the people closer to within the Albertine region have benefited. Roads have been put up, health centers, and a lot of recreation facilities are coming because people are targeting business. You know, people are putting up big hotel facilities, apartments, institutions, anything that can, you know, can put you at a vantage point. to reap from this. I said to a tune of 15 billion US dollars. These are so many trillions in Ugandan shillings. It is money in the country. So don't sit back and wait for the foreigners to take away the money which has been brought to you. It's here, we should get it.
Well, you mentioned something very interesting, and I would like to go back to it. We are going to start construction for the benefit of our viewers at home and understanding exactly what's happening, because most of us might think we are starting today and by next year we are earning from this oil. You've mentioned that there's going to be construction and procurement. When you talk about construction, is that in regard to the pipeline?
It's more than the pipeline. Remember, there are so many oil wells in the region, and now these companies have said we are not going to be picking oil from each oil well. You know, like you send a truck, they load it and take it to wherever. So these oil wells are going to be connected underground
Okay.
using what we call flow lines, and then there are going to be well pads, a few well pads. From the well pads, then you put again flow lines, taking the oil to the central processing facility for each of these companies. And then from the central processing facility, you put another flow line to the industrial park at Kabale. Now, that is where all, you know, Sinok is going to send to Kabale and Total. That's the collection point for both the refinery and the pipeline, the major pipeline going to Tanzania. So you have to construct all those things. The central processing facility has to be put up. We are going to put up an industrial park at Kabale, because when you refine oil, there are byproducts that could be turned into other things. You know, besides the oil we use in cars, you can have a factory there making Vaseline or shoe polish or fertilizer. So many things. Over 100 different products can come out of oil products. So you have the oil, you have the byproducts, and completion of the airport at Kabale, which is going to be almost the size of Entebbe Airport, slightly smaller, but it's a major cargo airport in the region. So there is a lot. We need to put up high voltage power lines, go into the CPPs, go into the industrial park. We have to improve the road infrastructure. Some of the roads have been done, but more roads have to be done. Yeah. So all this is what we call construction.
So how long will that take? What's the timeline for this?
From the planning, it will take the next 3 years. This year, next year, up to the end of 2024. Beginning of 2025, we should have oil out of the ground. Within that period, we should have also had our refinery put up. For most of these projects, there is something called front-end engineering. It has been done. It's more like, how is it going to look like? Okay. How is it? So the engineers put up a plan, and for most of these projects, that has been approved. So just procuring the service provider who is going to do the actual construction, and within that period, we expect 36 months. We expect much of the construction to be completed, and oil will be out of the ground. We have another pipeline from Hoima to Mpigi, a place called Namwabula, where we are putting up storage terminals, what we call Kampala storage tanks. It's going to be 320 million liter storage terminal. So the refined fuel would then come from Hoima through that pipeline to Kampala storage terminal, and you, the user, or the companies that take the fuel to the stations, will be picking it from there. So even that corridor was mapped, and people are going to start getting money, you know, because we are going to buy that land in that corridor, and people should be able to get money for that. So there is going to be a lot of construction, a lot of activity in that entire region.
The future looks bright. Tony, I would like to bring you into this conversation. We've talked about the timelines, 2 to 3 years. It's when we are going to start actually producing this oil, but so many times we have had timelines being pushed for one reason or the other. There are some skeptics about this whole monumental day for Uganda. What do you say about that?
The timelines are timelines. Timelines are usually something that anyone looks forward to. If you're planning a trip, you think about how many hours it's going to take you to reach a destination. If you're planning a journey, depending on the route you take, it also determines your time. But I think for me, what is critical in this conversation on timelines is the aspect of local content. My brother has mentioned 3 years. By 2025, we're getting fast forward. And let me just probably give you context here. It's kind of like building a house. So what's happening today, final investment decision, is very much the owner of a house or a project deciding finally he's going to spend this amount of money on the project. And what happens is you go into a construction phase, which is the busiest time of the project. That is when you have more people on site. That is when you have more material consumed. That's when you spend more money as the owner of the project. As soon as the project is over, when the mason hands over the key and says, you can now enter your house, for instance, you just need few guys to come and do maintenance works, to come and slash the compound, to fix a bug. So if you put that into the context of the oil and gas world, what's happening today is the companies and the government saying, we are ready to go. If we are talking timelines, the next 3 years become very critical. And the reason why they become very critical is the question of local participation. How many local people can we get ready to participate in the next 3 years? Because what will happen when fast oil comes in 2025, you will go into, or we will go into what we call a plateau phase. A plateau phase means you have fast oil, and as soon as it's fast oil, it is simply maintenance activities and production activities. The least amount of manpower will be needed, the least amount of resources will be needed. Now, are we prepared for that? Do we find ourselves in a situation where we're going to be overly investing at a wrong phase and get our fingers burnt like it was before? So the conversation on timelines, in my perspective, should be really focused or skewed around the issues of local participation. How do we get as many local players, be it goods and services or manpower, participating in this sector over the next 3 years? That is the only way we can converse or have a conversation on value and value retention in country, local content in country.
Oh, Tony, that's a very good prospect. But also, there has been issues with different projects, not this particular one that we are discussing, where you find an issue of corruption. Do you think we have strategies in place to ensure that we don't fall into the same trap whereby projects are cancelled or fail to be finished in the timelines that are set? Do you think Uganda is ready to work on a project without any issues of corruption? I'll give you an example. Our bypass is the most expensive road in the world. And it has been cited that one of the issues was compensation and corruption, whereby there was a lot of kickback here and there. Do you think we are ready to actually execute a project without any hiccup?
Right. Look, I might not be a guru at issues around corruption, but I'll tell you one thing. You know, if you compare Uganda to Ghana, to Nigeria, to any other African country that has discovered oil and has gone out to produce oil, we're the only, if not the only country that went fast to sort out the policy issues, the legislative issues, the regulatory issues, and issues or things that will really support us in managing this sector. That is something that is very crucial. You know, sometimes people say, oh, we have taken long, this has been very slow to come. Sometimes the slowness is a blessing because it gave us an opportunity to organize ourselves. Now, whether it might happen or not, that's none of that is not something I can tell you now because I wouldn't say I know what will happen. But I can tell you one thing for sure. It's a time-bound sector in the sense that it is time that is important, standards are important, capital is intensive. Now, if you're going to spend money, remember, this is money that is going to be a recoverable cost. This is money from outside, not our government money, from outside, a recoverable cost. There is need and there will be need for those companies and entities that are going to do these projects to, one, sort out their time management, two, put out the best value in terms of the resources available, and three, see how best to optimize the next 3 years. So I'll be very honest with you. We need to applaud our government. We need to, I mean, Uganda has issues, yes, but when it comes to the oil and gas sector, we need to applaud our government. For one, setting about the legislative aspects. You know, you have the Upstream and Midstream Acts of 2013. All of these are in perspective. All of these are in action. You have the policies. You have, on top of the policies, a regulatory authority, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. You have several directorates. All of these have been set in place to make sure we do not go through the situation that many countries went through. And let me also put this into perspective as well. You know, people keep saying, oh, we might get a Nigerian situation, we might get a Nigerian situation. I don't think so. Nigeria put in place a local content law in 2010. 2010. They had been producing oil from the 50s. 2010. Are we not blessed to have a law, policy, regulations that can streamline how we participate in the sector today? And I think if we have these, and we have had these for some time, I think it's a great opportunity for us to say we have nothing to hold back on. We really have to go and stay the course. And I think this is a great opportunity for Ugandans. You know, the Ugandans say, "Okwe kwasa kwasa." We cannot make kwasa kwasa anymore. The policies are there. They are clear. They are good for us. They are there for us. Local content in terms of local companies and local participation, ring-fence areas for Ugandan businesses. 13 sectors, completely ring-fenced for Ugandan entities. I think it's a great opportunity for us to exploit that. And I think, in my opinion, the conversation should really be around how do we get as many local players, local Ugandans, in this sector? And that should be the conversation.
Hakuna Mchezo project. Tony, that's what you're saying. Well, if you have just joined us, you can be part of the conversation. Just look out for our social media platforms. That is YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Look out for NTV Uganda, or look out for myself, Idris Matusegawa, and be part of the conversation. Today, the final investment decision is being signed. It determines your future as a Ugandan. The oil and gas sector is one of the biggest economy boosters in the world. So it is an important day, a monumental day for Uganda as a country and East Africa as a region. And I'll come back to you, Mr. Solomon. So we've talked about construction that is going to happen for the next 2, 3, 4 years. You talked about procurement, reimbursement, and paying off whoever is affected by the project. How is that going to happen? And what are some of the stringent factors put in place to make sure that we don't have any issues that might delay the project?
Well, for the players in this sector are looking at it. This is business.
Yeah. And
like my brother said, Tony, timelines are very important when you're doing business. The international oil companies we were able to attract to Uganda have been at it for many years. Mm. They have systems in place. Our authority, the Petroleum Authority, checks their systems. And we know that they have very good systems in place already. So everything has almost, if we were speaking scripts, everything is scripted. Yeah. So there are stages, the controls are there. And as a country, we made sure that we put in place a very strong regulatory framework. We have a very nice model that ensures value to the country and profitability to the companies. So nothing is going to delay a project. Nothing, well, interferences may be there, but maybe to a minimal level.
Yeah.
everything has been carefully thought out. As a country, we were able to check what has worked elsewhere and what has not worked. So we've had an opportunity to think about that mix. Nigeria did this, it didn't work. Or UAE did this, it worked. So we brought those two and, you know, tried to plan and think about the best that would come out of every situation. That is why I think these IOCs, the oil companies, have been able to have that confidence that is viable to invest in Uganda. Otherwise, you know, you would see them, you know, running around and saying, maybe let's wait a bit. But at least you've not had much negativity. There's a lot of positive information coming out of these teams. Total has been able to send their topmost
experts.
Yeah, no. For this event of today, they've been able to send their, what I would call their top team, international. They are here in the country today. They are going to be with us. So everything is properly planned, and we expect everything to be nicely executed. I heard you mention issues of corruption and so on. There are controls in place. You may not be able to eliminate it 100%, but there are adequate controls. The prices are monitored because every cost counts. Every cost incurred into this counts. It's pegged to the liter of fuel or to the final product. So you can't just inflate costs during construction or during procurements, you know, cutting deals and so on. The businessmen will be monitoring. Every dollar counts. So even as we organize these small things, all the figures have to be signed off, because they keep reminding you that whatever we spend will translate into the final cost. So as a country, it is in our interest to make sure that things flow in that direction, things flow in a way that will have value as a country, and they will make profit. So I don't think the kind of stories we hear from other areas, I don't think these businessmen are going to tolerate, because it will be, whatever goes wrong is a loss to them. They are going to bring their money and put it here. So they cannot let it just go outside their plan, because it means they will not make the money. You
know, there are some few critics who have claimed that because it's a private sector kind of funding and it's going to be executed by these investors, that then there is trust that things are going to go well. Do you think that's a lack of faith in government-run projects?
Well, yes and no. One, government may not be, because this is a new sector. The government is constituted of many of us who have not who don't have expertise, I would say, technical expertise in this sector. So if the private sector comes and they know what it takes.
So in other words, it was a wise decision for government to decide to give it to the private sector.
To the sector that understands it better. Our role as government, we've played it. The policies are in place. We've put in place a robust regulatory environment. So we are able to monitor. You can get the oil out of the ground as private sector, but we are able to know that Uganda, what is our share of the oil? You're evacuating oil, but at what cost? What do we have our shares in that business also? Is the money going to come? How much is it? are you not cheating us? You get it. You are an expert, but are you able to operate, and we are able to monitor to see that we get our due share as a country? I think that's what is most important. We may not understand fully the engineering things in there, but the country also sent teams. Our good president sent teams to, to all these countries to be trained. There are so many Ugandans that have been trained in terms of building our capacity, at least to monitor for starters, to make sure that
when we get our own
when this expert mentions this, you really know what it is.
Yes.
As they are putting it up, you're able to monitor and say that this is the right quality of material, this is the right this and that. So I think that's most important for now until we fully develop to take over.
Tony, I'll come to you. What are some of the key players going forward? Tony, I think we have lost you. Well, I'll take the chance to take a short break. We shall be back with more on this conversation.
Watching Morning at NTV.
Did you know that the Building Industry Management System, BIMS, will enable the Appeals Tribunal to receive appeals, review appeals and original applications, and determine appeals? For more details, visit our website bims.go.ug, call our toll-free number 0800-220-746, or visit our other social media platforms. BIMS, digitizing the building industry.
On the next episode
is brought to you by
Crystal Mineral Water is a sanctuary of refreshment.
On the next episode,
where did you say Felicia went?
She's having dinner with Rodrigo.
What? That's impossible. After all that drama, she went out with him?
Thank you, Dad. That's exactly what I said.
It's unbelievable, but this is all your fault, Pilar. You and your ridiculous advice about having to chase after men.
He doesn't have any shame. He's with another girl, who's not me or the one he kissed this morning even. No, that's his neighbor. The ivory statue. I can't believe this.
Hey, have you noticed? This beer has a beautiful body. It's delicious and reminds me of someone I like.
Crystal Mineral Water is a sanctuary of refreshment. The quality of each crystal bottle is stringently verified.
watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning and welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Idris Matusegawa and this is the Kickstarter, and we're talking about the energy sector. Today, oil players are signing the final investment decision at Kololo, and it will mean so much for the Ugandan economy. Now, I want to cross over to you, Tony. Tony, are you there? Okay, we don't have Tony back yet. Now, Solomon, who are the key players going forward?
The key players, for starters, the licensees. We have Total Energies.
Yeah.
It probably manages the biggest part of oil and gas in Uganda. It has some of the biggest contracts or licenses, for that matter. It's a French company. I think everyone knows Total. It's nothing new.
We hope so.
It's nothing new. Even from every district, you've seen Total. Total. Yeah. At least at a fuel station level. We have Sinok. It's Chinese. It's been here. It has developed an area in areas of Chikube. Sinok Uganda Limited, Uganda National Oil Companies, UNOC, which is holding the shares of the country, of the government of Uganda. Then in the pipeline, those three come back, plus a Tanzanian firm called TPDC. Tanzania has 15% in the oil pipeline. Uganda has 15% held by UNOC. China, or CNOC, has 8%, but Total has 62%. So Total is putting in most of the money, but we shall also put in as the two countries. So in the refinery is going to be under Uganda, but UNOC will have 40%. Then we'll get a private player to put in 60%. 60%. The Kampala storage terminals is going to be under UNOC wholly. So that's what it is. Those are the players. The other companies that will come in will be the contractors. These are the owners, but the others, will contract different companies to do different aspects of the project from time to time. We expect Ugandan companies to supply aggregate, sand, stones to a tune of 3 million tons.
Oh, wow.
It is quite big. It's that one, at least we are sure it won't be imported. There are quite a number of specialized equipment that we have to import. You cannot find a supplier anywhere in Africa. For instance, the material for making the pipeline, the kind of pipe, the thickness required for this business, you can't find it anywhere. It comes from specific countries. So the bigger companies that are able to supply that will be given an opportunity to do so. Yeah, but Petroleum Authority of Uganda is going to have a major role in terms of regulation because it is up to it to monitor the costs incurred into the projects. Because if we are to get value out of this, we need to control the cost. So everything, these companies, much as they're coming to declare, this is how much we are putting in. Yeah, you're putting in so much, but as you spend, as government, we have to monitor what you're spending, so you don't turn up tomorrow and say, I put in so much. Let me first take out my money,
return on investment,
and then you as a country, you can get much later. No. At least we are able to monitor that cost through the Petroleum Authority. They'll be moving. So it's also a major player to monitor everything happening and to make sure they sign off at every stage, they sign off, and also they track. If you say we are going to construct this in so many months, we keep tracking the different stages and the cost to make sure that we remain on track. So that is how we are going to be flowing over the next. Construction is going to be between 36 months to 45 months. So after 36, much of it will be in place and we'll be able to start getting the oil. But a few more final touches will be happening, and as the production takes place. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I am thinking Tony is back. Tony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we've been discussing the key players going forward. And Solomon had broken it down for me, whereby Total has 62%, CNOC 8%, UNOC 15%, and TPCD 15%.
In the pipeline.
In the pipeline.
Yes.
What does this mean for the energy sector in Uganda and going forward, execution-wise?
Sorry, just repeat the question just one last time, your last bit.
Yes, we've been talking about the key players going forward, and clearly Total has 62%, which makes it the biggest shareholder, So I'm asking you to break it down for the viewer, what this means for the execution going forward.
Okay. So first of all, what you need to understand is that this is just at the beginning phase.
Yeah.
Because if you look at who's putting in the money and who's capitalized or who is putting in the capital for this investment, it is, of course, Total. And, of course, the shareholder, like in any other business, depends on who's putting in more muscle. Then what will happen is as time goes by, as we begin producing oil, we shall then start taking a bigger chunk of that. You know, a lot of the time, people really underestimate the role that Uganda National Oil Company is going to play. But you need to understand that as we are doing this, even with that 15%, in the next 5 years or 10 years, it could be over 50%. So I think we need to look at it in a way that, one, the IOCs are bringing in a lot of capital into this very high or capital-intensive project. And that, of course, you know, supports the notion of shareholding. But eventually, as we gain expertise and we gain, you know, funds from this opportunity, we'll be able to take on a lot of these projects that are on board. So, in my opinion, I believe this is just the beginning. Today is day one. As we are speaking, we can't, you know, it's kind of like cutting an animal and you're complaining with the sponsor on day one, you know. But eventually, what's going to happen is as time goes on and we start producing oil, as a country, we'll, one, have enough manpower or great manpower that can support us to take this forward, but also enough finances to see us take a lot of great opportunity or a great chunk of this story into our economy. So this is the beginning. I think, like I've said, we need to just up our game as a country, as Ugandans. Unlike so many countries, African countries out there, and I'll talk about Ghana, because if you think about Ghana, Ghana discovered commercial deposits of oil around the same time, 2006, same time as Uganda. What they did is they rushed into production. They rushed into construction and production. On the other hand, as Uganda, we concentrated on consolidating our manpower, our laws, regulations, and everything. Right now, we are going to start. But if you look at Ghana right now, they're working backwards. They're trying to sort out all of these issues that were not thought about or were ignored prior to jumping into this equation. So the percentages are not, in my opinion, an issue at the start. As we gain momentum, as we gain the ability to handle this sector, a new sector, by the way, in Uganda, then we can say we are growing as a nation. Thank you.
Tony, you've been emphasizing local participation as something that needs to be emphasized going forward. What can a Ugandan do to make sure that they are part of this sector, this opportunity, monumental opportunity?
Right. So if you remember the exploration and appraisal phase that happened between 2006 to about 2013, we had many companies participating.
Yeah.
Most of them were foreign. The only amount of opportunity that stayed in country, be it resources or whatever, was just about 28%. What we want to see this time is more of that. I would be so amazed if we actually have more than 60% emphasized in terms of local content or in-country value retention. So what does a business have to do? And this is what will actually create opportunity when it comes to local content. Number one, you have to be a compliant business. We cannot do business as usual. The oil and gas sector is, number one, capital intensive. Number two, standards intensive. Compliance is very key. So, one, you have to be on the national supplier database. And I keep telling people that even to supply toilet paper to the oil and gas companies or the contractors, you have to be on the national supplier database. National supplier database is on the Petroleum Authority website. Very easy to join. And recently, they remodified it and even made it easier and user-friendly. You have to be registered with the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. That's number one. Number two, you have to be compliant when it comes to URA, so tax compliant. Number three, you have to have a letter from your bank or your bank certifying that you actually bank with them. And number four, compliant with NSSF, National Social Security Fund. Very easy steps. But these easy steps will make sure that you are in the NSD. And once you're in the NSD, which is the National Supplier Database, that means that these opportunities are available for you. At the Business Incubator, we have been supporting businesses in this way. We've been supporting them to get onto the National Supplier Database. We've been supporting them to become compliant. We've been supporting them to look at the bigger picture. We always have this thing, ka business can. We are saying, forget about ka business can. This is a sector, nowadays we talk about the big boys. If you want to play with the big boys, you have to do what the big boys are doing. Be compliant, be ready. Now, we've been talking about readiness for a very long time. The time has come. If you're not ready today, it is time for you to go through what we call a crash course. You need to get ready yesterday. So the opportunity is here, and we need to see more local participation. We want to emphasize for local participation in a way of in-country value retention so that as a country, we can benefit from this opportunity, which is around us for the next 4 to 5 years.
Well, as we inch closer to the end of this discussion, I'll come back to you, Solomon. Not the big boys, but the small boys might think that because we have signed this final investment decision, is it going to affect fuel prices in any way?
That effect, you're not going to see it because of FID. FID, like I said, they are declaring what they are investing in the construction, in the development of our capacity to get oil out of the ground. Eventually, it will translate into oil prices. But you should look at that point when your refinery is up and running and our storage tanks are up and we are able to send trucks.
Fuel, refine it.
Yeah, we are able to send trucks because we are getting the fuel we're consuming in Uganda, 66.5 million liters, from the Arabs and Singapore. You can imagine the cost of transporting the fuel from the Arab world to you here. It is a very long distance. So you incur, that is the cost of transporting refined fuel. So at that point when you're able to refine it yourself and put it where your people can access it, you're going to take off the cost of transportation. At least it will drop drastically, and then you should be able to enjoy it at a minimal cost. So what we are going to hear today is an input into the lowering of prices eventually. So don't say tomorrow, don't come up and say they announced, so why is the price still up? No, it doesn't work like that. We should wait for hours to come out of the ground, to get refined, and then we can say, now we have Ugandan fuel. I believe that will be the next big day when our presidents, our leaders will come and say, dear Ugandans, it's here.
It's here. Well,
so, and we'll be able to say, not exceeding this.
Solomon, because we are running out of time, what's happening at Kololo today and what should we expect there?
So we have two presidents, the president of the Republic of Uganda and the president of the United Republic of Tanzania. At Kololo, we have the big boys from Otoa,
definitely,
and from Sinok, plus our own UNOC and TPDC from Tanzania. We have ambassadors, we have ministers, and cabinet, vice president, and so on. So it's a big day. It's a big stage. We should have this event live on the major television channels.
Yes.
And you can monitor our digital platforms, all the companies, Ministry of Energy, Petroleum Authority, Total, Sinok, UNOC, websites or social media pages, it will be live. So you can follow everything, you can hear the announcements by yourself. The business owners, the companies looking to invest, it's good to follow this information. Don't hear
Definitely.
Don't wait to hear from third parties. You follow, and you know, when you follow, then you know that where do I go next?
Where do I go?
Yeah.
And is this information accessible? The details of what is going to be signed?
It is going to be live. They will announce, they will read, everyone will hear, and then we should be able to share aggressively going forward to make sure that everyone understands where, at what point they can get in. Yeah, so it's going to be public information.
I'm going to cross over to Tony. Tony, a parting shot from you.
Fantastic. First of all, I want to thank you for having me today. But my parting shot, I would say, is the time for PowerPoints or PowerPoint presentations is over. The time of conferences and sweet talking is over. It's action time. We need to get our businesses ready as a way of involving ourselves in this local content story. We want to champion local content as Ugandans and say we can do this different and we can do this better than any other country that has ventured into this oil and gas resource area and has failed. We want to start on a clean slate. Today is an opportunity to start drawing that picture that we want to see at the end of the 3 to 5 years. I believe there's an opportunity for Ugandans to participate, but we need to be prepared. Let's not take things for granted. Let's not take anything for granted. As Ugandans, this is a great opportunity for us, an opportunity we've been waiting for. And we thank God that we are alive to actually experience this. Thank you.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for the conversation, and for you, the viewer who has been sticking with us all throughout. But right now, I would like